I'm right in saying it broke during the game that Zidane had left with immediate effect. Like, that was like, is he watching the game going, oh yeah, I'm in here. This is terrible. They need me. It was bizarre. I was like, why now?
Potch is where everyone's on the phone. He's blowing it.
It's like Wednesday evening. Yeah, can I speak to Florentino Perez there? Yeah, I'm gone. All right, good luck. Bye-bye.
Every agent phone ringing off the hook. Are you watching this?
Yeah.
Do you know how much money they have?
And I tell you what, they backed the manager. Yeah, thank you, Graham Studios. Sorry, it's Graham. He's in the background there. Don't mind him. Yeah, we'll get it going.
Also, that just reminded me, same as you last week, I actually have to take a call.
Oh, sorry. On you go.
Yeah, hello? Yeah, it's me again. Yeah, I'm your man who rang 10 times last night and kept hanging up and ringing again. No, yeah, cancel the banner, definitely.
Oh.
No, I know, but I mean, every penalty is like when Dan James is scoring, you don't think you're going to miss. So you can't cancel it 10 times, that's the limit.
That's the limit.
That's a shame.
Oh, no. Well, I don't know, the Europa League banner, that's even sadder than the St. Tottenham banner that I was going to get.
I got them from the same shop.
They have our number. You didn't use the office phone here at the top of the foundry, did you?
No. We can't afford the bill.
No, honestly, that is nonsense. Nonsense. All nonsense. But listen, I've been on that road before. Nonsense. Fucking nonsense. Why should we accept somebody talking nonsense? Like, what would you say? Just why are you talking nonsense about us? Why are you talking rubbish?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a No Nonsense podcast with Cahill and Will, Europa League Final Recap Edition. What an occasion! You know, what a tournament! What a fairy tale end to this year's Europa League. Will, the Premier League finally getting in on the underdog story that's been sweeping the continent this season. You must be so proud.
Oh, buzzing! Because remember our whole talk was the cursed game of United versus Arsenal.
Oh yeah.
I think it was just the final in general was cursed. Neither of us should have been anywhere near it. It was always going to end in disaster.
Yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't, really, with the Europa League. You often see this in boxing where it's like, a new kind of fighter up and coming, and then they may have a few losses or get badly knocked out. And they have to have a good promoter or a good manager. They get them like a fight against a journeyman, an older kind of fighter who still has undoubted quality, but he's on the way down. But would still be kind of a repetitive win to get you back up there, kick on from here. But if you lose that fight, he's a journeyman. He's on the way out. If you can't beat him, where do you go from here? And that's what the Europa League feels like. That's the way it's hyped up, certainly by the English media anyways. It's like, okay, this could be a kicking on point for United, which is, so disrespectful, but whatever. And then they lose, and it's just like, throw it all away. Start again. Sack the manager and all the players.
Like, it's the first season since Fergie that they've improved 3 seasons in a row in the league. It's the first time they've got top 4 twice in a row since Fergie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Because they always go 6th. I think with Moyes it was like 7th, then maybe 4th, then like 7th, then like 6th, 2nd, 7th, and then 4th, 3rd, 2nd.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it, would you?
No, especially, and that was the thing as well then. It was like, I think if United got knocked out in the semis of the Europa, no one would have given a shit. But it's because they got to the final, it's almost like you're punished. It's like, how can you get this far? But last year when they lost in the semis, there was nothing about it. Like,
yeah, well, it brings up all these pundits who like to use these fucking adjectives and nonsense words, are kind of like desire and heart and like bottle. And because you have to win finals. That just takes balls, Will. Not skill or tactical knowledge. It takes balls. You don't have balls, and you got nothing. So like, you lose the same final. It's like, yeah, that can happen. But a final is about who wants it more. I guess we should just get into the game. Where do you begin? I suppose. I mean, it started off kind of all right, but I mean, the first thing I noticed was the lineups when I saw Pogba in centre mid.
Well, Fred was injured midweek, I think.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, because I was thinking the same. I was like, why would you go changing that now?
I thought that as well. I thought like they must be very confident that they have a terrible midfielder. They're going to let Pogba just like do Rabonas and giving the ball away. They know what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
I thought they didn't fear Villarreal at all. And then I saw at the start, I never saw this before. Now I thought this was like something that I never saw before, but it always happens. Was the Villarreal players taking penalties in their warm up on the pitch before the game? I thought, no, maybe it's just I've never seen this. Or maybe it happens all the time, but that's weird. It seems strange that they're planning for penalties before the game starts. And that's kind of how the game went then.
Well, then they were like, we were kind of messaging through it. They were wasting time in like the 10th minute. Like they were walking up the corners and stuff. That was their game plan. Like
the 21st minute, and they got a corner. I don't know who it was. Maybe Pereira or something like that, and he was like walking over. Like my hand was hovering over the remote. Like, oh, fuck this. This is gonna be a long one. Like United we're so on top. We're so dominant. Like I say, Pogba was in the middle. He didn't have to give the ball away once. He didn't make any mistakes. He's under no pressure.
He was literally just pinging it to the right wing. They give it back. He'd ping it over to the left. It was just back and forth. Like.
And the worst thing that could happen was that Villarreal scored. The 29th minute. I mean, look, I said it, every time Maguire doesn't play, he goes up in my in my books, because I mean, it wasn't like it was zonal marking, but it was just like no one knew where anyone else was. Like no one gave Lindelof a shout to say he's behind you.
That run, like it was literally the simplest thing. Of instead of running straight across, he ran down a bit and then straight across. Yeah. United had no idea where he was. It was like he disappeared.
Where'd he go?
He was right beside me.
Like it was like Baye and Shaw were like, a combination of them were like on him, and he ran away from them and thought, where's he going? The ball's not going that way. And then he's coming back. And Lindelof just like grabbed out and like it was he pulled him back, and then I think if Moreno hadn't been pulled, he would have wanted to put that ball in the far corner, kick it back the direction the ball's coming. Because he kind of got slightly pulled, he put it in the far side. I think De Gea was anticipating that. So, like, it was bad defending, good movement, and he did enough to just kind of tip by De Gea. De Gea was a little bit unlucky, you might say. Yeah. We'll get back to De Gea later on, don't you worry.
And his luck.
So, like, that was kind of, again, you might say that was the worst thing that happened, but really that's what Villarreal were playing before the goal even went in. And then they went in 1-0 at half time, and I thought, this is going to be either a dogged game or Man United are going to have to really change things.
But I think I messaged you during, and I was like, I don't know, it just all of a sudden, it was like I could sense it. I was like, United are losing this game on penalties. Because that is just the story of the season. It's that's the perfect little bow on the whole United get loads of penalties story.
Well, they always go behind. Is that what they always start slow and go behind. So it's like, we'll see how this goes. But the way Villarreal were playing, it felt like this wasn't going to be like the other ones, like because it was defense from the get go. And then I think he'd probably wait, like all managers do, for 60 minutes to change it up. He's like, I'll give them, a little bit, and we'll bring on the subs. They scored like the 52nd minute.
Yeah.
So it was just before that, and then there's like this big like surge of energy from United.
They were all over him, yeah.
I think Cavani was like running out with the ball after he scored, and then I think Green went to grab him, and he's like, "Go away, get back to!" Like he was running back to the sideline. There was like, we're going to get the second here. Huge, big, maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I'd say there was a spell of pressure. Like I don't know how Villarreal hung on.
Yeah.
But after that, that's when the changes need to come.
Well, this, like we were saying, Villarreal were playing for penalties. Villarreal made some, at the time, I was like, that's insane. That. They brought off like the top scorer to bring on Coquelin. I was like, that's mental. Then they brought off Bacca, brought on another midfielder. They brought on fucking Moreno from Liverpool. And I was like,
some strange,
it's like, this is over one leg. They do know that. After
the going in, they took off Carlos Bacca, who won his third Europa League final, which I mean, I guess is impressive. It's like we're saying, it's the secondary one. It's so disrespectful. I think that's impressive. It is impressive. He's like 34 years of age. I mean, look, I don't like Rabonas when Tottenham players do them, but when anyone else does them,
oh man, his one was sick. He was running full speed as well. His one was crazy.
So they took it, like when the goal went in, in theory, when they needed the goal, they'd take off their striker, put on Francis Coquelin.
Yeah, and it's like, this game is over. Yeah.
They put on a few subs, but like, and Solskjaer just watched on. as Rashford was hobbling up and down the pitch.
Man, it was so weird. I guess it really showed he doesn't have faith in any of the rest of the squad. Like he didn't. Fred was injured, so he brought him on later. I get that, but like, bring on fucking Dan James to just run up and down the wing because Rashford was doing nothing. And then if you're playing for penalties, which it was because he didn't make any subs until the last second,
minutes, I think it was.
Yeah, and it was like bring on all the best penalty takers. Then fucking take De Gea off as well if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, I hadn't realised he hadn't saved a penalty for 5 years. That's not a good stat. That's not
and
a good stat
I think Henderson had saved 4 of his last 8.
Yeah. It's a big call to do that, though.
Yeah, it is. If that is the end of De Gea, if you do that, but it worked out that way anyway, probably.
Yeah, like the thing was, like we were saying, they were playing back, sitting back. There wasn't any space behind, so like they started with Hernandez, Greenwood, Rashford, Cavani. Like that is, getting behind rather than with pace. And this is why Rashford doesn't play great as number 9, because like his main attribute, like he's lightning fast, he's strong, he can finish. But like the kind of movement that Cavani has, he doesn't quite have, or maybe never have, but doesn't have yet, anyways. So like that wasn't working because there's no space behind.
Yeah.
So you have to bring on Mata. Like that's the obvious one. I mean,
Van de Beek even.
Yeah, good one. I mean, come on, let's not go crazy here. I'm not going to play the man. Like this. I mean, I'm joking, but like this thing that there's no faith in Van de Beek. Like that's what was needed. Somebody who could create space for Cavani. Like it was going to be tight spaces, so you needed Mata, you needed Cavani to link up. It wasn't going to be Rashford, and he was injured.
Yeah. Like
it just made no sense. Like this is, I think, with all these stuff. Like I said, I think people who hate him, anyways. Like that was like, come on. You have to change something. You just kept going, hoping that it would work. And like I say, after the 10 minutes after the goal, it might have, but after that, it needed to change.
I mean, as soon as it got to extra time and Villarreal had 5 fresh players on the pitch and United had none, I was like, what is the plan here?
Yeah.
It seemed insane. And like, why not bring on Dan James? Would have been perfect to run at tired people. That's his whole thing.
Yeah, because there's a few breakaways, a few counterattacks towards the end. Both teams looked knackered. United more so because they had made any substitutions, and like that's where you need fresh legs.
And it's so odd that of all the managers in the world to not know the impact of a super sub in a final, like what was he thinking?
I think that's one of the main things people said why he would be a good manager.
Yeah, because he's like watches from the sideline, and
it was probably his worst performance as manager, I would say.
Definitely.
Because it was so glaring to everyone that something needed to change. Even if you didn't know the exact answers, like don't stand there and watching.
He seemed terrified the whole game. Like it was, anytime it showed him, he was either like really frantically on the sideline, which he never does.
Yeah, he was
He was really like agitated, and even when Cavani scored, it was like you could see the relief on his face. It was too much for him, like, which isn't good.
No, like say when he did bring them on, it was only for penalty takers.
But like, you can win that game. It's Villarreal.
You're on top the whole game. Like it was just too late. I mean, we're saying this about Alexander-Arnold. Like defensively maybe he's not the best, but like to bring on something different, especially for teams sitting back, to put in good quality ball.
Yeah.
Like that's what Tellez is supposedly. The exact same situation where he's maybe not as good defensively, but he can ping in a ball. Like you got Cavani in there. He was getting free. Like there was no one putting the clamps on him.
Cavani had a great game, and he was really
just
good.
not like there's again. You might say that isn't as stacked a team as a Chelsea or City, but like you have to use the players. It's a final. Like what's there to lose? Like if they're not playing well, I think it's more this kind of awareness of what people will say afterwards. Like you need to go and take off Rashford.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Like, who cares, man? Like you have to. Like if he's not playing well, you have to make the judgment and say. He's not playing well. Or even Greenwood. Like, you can say Rashford's injured, take him off for that. Greenwood seemed to fade a little bit.
Yeah.
Bring on something different, do something different, and it just never happened for him.
And I in a way, I kind of understand. Rashford had the worst game I've seen him have, but I kind of get leaving him on because there's been lots of games this season where he's been awful, but then he'll score a goal out of nowhere at the end of the game. Like, so I kind of get, because like you're kind of relying on that, but once it's the 110th minute and he looks like he looks like he's on death's door, it's time to take him off. Like,
you
know what I think is going to be a really big story from this that hasn't really come out yet?
What?
what do you think Pogba thought of being taken off right before the penalties? Or Pogba's agent thought of that?
Oh, but well, yeah, Pogba's agent. Yeah, Pogba doesn't seem to be too bothered by these small things. I
Yeah.
think it's the agent will say he's been disrespected. He's been looked
Yeah.
down upon.
Well, if someone missed the penalty, you know that's the story. Like if someone missed one of the first 5,
Yeah.
that's the big. But because everyone scored, Pogba kind of they never got the chance to be like, what about him? It should have been him.
The penalties themselves. I mean, it's weird. Like it shouldn't have gone to 10 or 11. Like
No.
Geronimo Yuli.
Yeah.
I was reading 1 or 2 tweets on Twitter that he's very lowly rated in Spain. Like,
and like he was relied on in the game that didn't think he should play. He should have saved about 3 or 4 penalties. Like he slapped them into the goal, or they went under his hand,
or he dived too far instead of stopping his hand at his wrist. Like that's basic goalkeeping, surely. I mean, stop with the palm, not the wrist, the palm. Like Luke Shaw looked up.
Oh man,
I could see in his eyes. I could see in his eyes he wanted the ground to swallow him up before he even took it. It's like, this is not gonna.
Because he was like, I know what Jose Mourinho is watching right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess karma. He had built up enough karma to will that one in. I think he deserved that one to go in and not to have a lose on Luke Shaw.
Yeah.
And eventually, the camera wheel spun and landed on David De Gea, the man who should have left and won 4 Champions League at Real Madrid, if not for a faulty fax machine way back when.
The worst thing to ever happen to his life, I'd say.
I mean, if you ever have the feeling, for the folks at home, or even you will, if you have the feeling that, I think it's time to go, it is. Don't hang on. don't give one more year. If it's time, if you feel it's time to go, it's time to go. Yeah. If things around you aren't going well, don't think it'll turn around. Because like that is, where does he go from here, David? If he gets sold now, probably for about 5 million after that. I mean, some of the he didn't have as clear opportunities as Geronimo Yuli to say, but he had 1 or 2 that I think could he have jumped across.
There was a few down the middle, and did you see the thing? Someone got a copy or took a picture of the notes he was given before the penalty shootout.
Really?
And had it up on Twitter. Yeah, like you could see him holding it. You could read it on camera.
Oh.
One of the penalties that went straight down the middle, he was told on the notes he goes down the middle, and he dove out of the way. So he just ignored the note.
Trust his gut.
Yeah. But big mistake.
The time to trust your gut was 6 years ago. However he fucking leave. Too little, too late.
I was going to say, if ever there's a man to not trust their gut, the man who's been trapped in Manchester for like 10 years.
Oh God. Yeah, he didn't have much to do in the game. I think they had 1 shot on target, and that was the goal.
No, he was fine. Like he didn't do anything wrong.
It was just the penalty. It was like, and a Spaniard to miss it. Of course. Tough. But one thing I do love is it's FIFA's, or maybe UEFA, I don't know, but their insistence on the march of the losers after the game.
Oh man, it's so bad.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard an ex-pro saying anything other than, it's awful. You just, you don't want to be there, but you have to go up and get your medal, and it's terrible. I hate it.
Yeah.
Like I've never heard someone say. It's just, it's glad that our part in the final has been acknowledged at the end, because without us losing the game, they couldn't have won it. So it's good they didn't forget about us at the final ceremony. That we were a part of it.
Yeah.
Like they were brilliant. And I suppose it's like, I get it in a way that like you're trying to promote the game for like grassroots for kids. It's like, you don't just like, it's not, the less isn't.
But does seeing the players just pull the medal off their necks immediately really promote anything?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's like, in an ideal world, they'd go up and they'd celebrate, and the other team would wait and applaud them and watch them lift the trophy.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay and celebrate, but you go in after that. Well, I think most professional teams would just go off pitch immediately.
Yeah.
So that would like teach kids to storm off, and as soon as you lose, get off that pitch. Don't even look at them. Don't look at
yourselves. Embarrass yourselves.
Yeah. So I think this is an effort by UEFA to like force them to be involved in this. That you have to, give their dues. But like I say, when they're going off, like I was looking at it there. Maguire goes up first. He wasn't playing. Probably a bit sick about that, if nothing else. He takes it off. Hernandez is like, don't even put on me. I'll take it from here. I'll make sure this medal goes where it needs to go. And Rashford, Luke Shaw, Green went for the grabbing as well. Brandon Williams ripped it off. Like, you weren't even playing, pal. I don't know what you're up. I don't know what, this isn't maybe as good as the Premier League youth medal you have, but like, I thought it was a bit performative, like in front of the camera. Like, at least wait till you get off the stage. Like,
Yeah.
like the lads who took it off. I mean, Van de Beek was hilarious. Van de Beek took one hand out of his pocket. He went, "Just put it on me there." He didn't even take his coat off or his hand out of his pocket.
What a year he's had.
Matic seemed to have some kind of prior relationship with what's his name? Alexander Sarsen? No. Seferin.
Seferin, yeah.
He like gave him a handshake and a hug. I was like, do they know each other? Like, I don't think he's not from Serbia. I think he's like
Well, Matic has just won a lot of stuff, I'd say. He's like, oh well, yeah, good to see you again, pal. Not this time. Yeah. Wrong club.
Cavani came up and gave kind of a look of resignation, kind of like, yeah, you know, what are you gonna do? Not what I wanted, but Matt as well seemed to, look. I think the players who had nothing left to prove to social media. Like the players like, you know, Rashford was on social media straight away afterwards to read all the lovely tweets that he would get.
Man, like awful, so awful that he's getting them, obviously. But man, get off Twitter right after a final. What? Like,
oh man, I don't go on Twitter after Arsenal lose.
Yeah, I didn't go on after
in the final.
Yeah. Like, man, it's not going to be good. Even if people weren't being racist, they're going to be dogging you. Like,
oh yeah, type Dan James into Twitter, see what comes up.
Yeah.
Another player who didn't take the medal off. I don't think if he has any brains about him, he hasn't gone near Twitter in about 3 years because I mean he gets abused every time he touches the ball.
I like him as well, man. I think whenever he comes on, I was like, why doesn't he play more? Does Ollie read Twitter?
I saw Pogba going up as well. He was like smirking before he even got to him. Then big smiles to Seferin, dabbed him up, hugged the hips of Seferin. I was like, how do you know him?
Yeah.
And then, you know, he got the medal and then walked towards the camera and took the medal off like a WWE shoot video or whatever. I was like, he's such a fucking, he's so performative. This is why you don't like him. Like, you can't be all laughing and joking with the guy and then, oh yeah, but I'm taking the medal off. It's like, you know, come on. Like, you either care or you don't.
Yeah.
You know, like, well, I might take it from Hernandez or Rashford. Like, Steve Rashford's bizarre interview afterwards.
Yeah. He shouldn't have been interviewed, man. He was not the person to send out. Like, he's only like 23, isn't he?
But like, he talks like he has the weight of United on his shoulders. Like,
he does.
But he's taken that responsibility. Like, he talked about like, yeah, look, City won the league and we're second, and that's not good enough. It's like no one said that. Yeah. Like that's all run through his head the entire time that like second isn't good enough. And then like BT interviewing an English player after the Europa League final after you lost is actually a pretty okay interview. Like, no one's going to be a dick and ask you like, why do you think Fitz was shite there, Rashford? Like, they're going to be easy on you. But he came out and he had to like,
and like especially him, like. People love him for everything he does. Like,
But he came out like anticipating that. Look, I know City won the league, right? I that's my fault. Like, relax.
He scored. Like, I don't know. Did you see he scored 22 goals this season? That's a lot.
I asked him like, and what about the leg for the Euros? I lost. I don't deserve to feel pain. I'm sorry. It's like, you need to relax, man. Like, he's going to go with the Euros now and he's going to feel the weight of that. And it's like, it's not all up to you.
I honestly hope Southgate watched that final and is like, you were not playing a game and you need a break, man. He's going to, like, he's running himself into the ground physically and now it seems mentally as well.
Because, like, whenever it's straight after a game, you're like, you're hyped up. This was after the game. They had put on his coat. He'd gone up and done the little medal thing. Like, he wasn't like tired, frantic. That was just going through his head 24/7, being like, since he came into the United team at 18 and started scoring goals, and was ordained the man to make United great again. You're going to be the one to score all the goals.
So much pressure, man.
It would just seem like, you know, you need to. I mean, it was the mask as well. He just seemed like unhinged. Just like you can't do it on your own. Like you don't have to take it all on.
And like, if there's a player to. Like, relax, you've done plenty. It is Rashford. Like, again, like 22 goals this season. That's not bad. Like, I think he gets harshly rated because he burst onto the scene. It's like, well, you're not Mbappe. Well, he's never going to be. Like,
well, it's just that when United aren't winning it, you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter who's playing well or who's not playing well. And I think he's just feeling all that pressure. And I was like, man, I felt for him because it was a tough watch, that interview. It was hard to get through it, like, but I mean,
that's the type of interview I would have thought send Mata or Matic or send one of the older guard out who's fucking, they've lost shit before, like, they'll be able for it.
And is that more kind of management from Ollie's point of view as well? Like you have to look after a player like Rashford, because like say Mata or Cavani or some of that, they've been there, done before. Plus there's not going to be the future of the club. They're not seen as like the hometown hero. Like to put Rashford out there when he's clearly like
really upset.
devastated about it, and he's like apologizing for City win the league. Like no one mentioned that. I just Ollie again goes out and then he's whatever.
Yeah,
he does his interview, but I mean,
send someone boring out. Like, don't send out something that's going to cause a story. You know who I felt so bad for? I thought Scott McTominay was savage in that game. Like the whole 120 minutes, I thought he was great.
Yeah, I mean he's all right. Yeah, I think it was one of those games where it's like they weren't under pressure in the middle. So I mean, like you can't rely on him to create anything. But like that kind of all action.
Yeah, he was good like defensively and never made any mistakes, stuff like that. And Cavani has to be on the juice. He did not stop running once. Like he was box to box striker.
Yeah.
At 35 years of age for 120 minutes.
I don't know, maybe it's just that sports science to come that far. I mean, you look at someone like Ibrahimovic, who's 39, still doing AC Milan. Ronaldo obviously is the example. You might have said he was ahead of the whole thing. But like, you got Suarez, you have the washed up pasta Aguero still able to bang in goals against Everton, who are a decent side. I mean, I don't know. I like if I saw a thing there recently about like when Wijnaldum is leaving Liverpool.
Yeah, to Barca for less money.
Well, they have like a policy there of like 30-year-olds and over don't get a 2-year contract or a 3-year contract.
Terrible.
Like sometimes they do fall off a cliff at a certain point. But I think it has to be taken case by case. You know what I mean? I think Cavani is someone who looks after himself. We said this before in the last one, but like, oh, well, he could be the striker for the next 10 years. Like, yeah, or he could get injured next year. Or he could just, have a family. Like, there's no telling. So, I mean, to say that, like, 32, get rid of Cavani, he's past it. It's like, we said this before, PSG could have done with Cavani there in the Champions League to get a goal from. So,
and and Thiago Silva as well.
Thiago Silva, another one. I think players are definitely going on a bit longer. There's definitely more kind of sports science there that can help them. You count macro calories, all that stuff.
I think weirdly, for strikers, pace almost isn't as important now because everyone plays like City of just passing it around up near the other box. There's not so much bursting up and down the pitch unless you're like a freak like Cavani who likes to defend as well as get up top. Like, but I think like lads like Kane and stuff, they'll play for ages because they don't need that explosiveness.
If you have pace on either wings for you as well, they can make up for that, and you can kind of play making it. Especially a really good player like Kane or Cavani can play make and pass around. But like we were saying, if they'd won it, it would have been this kind of thing of onward and upwards. But really, I think Ollie showed a lack of kind of nous in that last 15 minutes of the game that needed to change.
Yeah.
To make no substitutions versus their 5. When you're on top all game.
He got dragged into playing for penalties because that's what Villarreal were doing. You didn't have to. Like, you could have kept going and tried to score. And then, like, if Villarreal break and score, like, there's as much a chance of that happening as you losing on penalties.
Yeah, there was an odd bit there where they were, towards the end, where they were breaking, and I think it was like Coquelin was up there and Moreno, and they were both kind of like, do you want to go for it or will I go for it? And if you go for it, I'll run back towards my goal. And Coquelin, like, they were both like afraid to go forward. Like, they were offered nothing going forward. Yeah. United were way on top, way better team, but it was just the tactics. Emery out tacticked them, as Big Sam would say, by defending the entire game and
by just holding up and praying that Ollie wouldn't change anything.
And he didn't. Ollie offered no ingenuity, no innovation in terms of getting the ball the way towards the goal. So I mean, it was bad for Ollie. For United, I think a lot of those players probably need a rest. Maguire played every minute of the game prior to get injured.
Yeah.
Rashford.
Shaw looked bollocks as well.
Rashford needs a spa day, I think, for about a month.
Man, honestly, I wouldn't bring him to the Euros because he's not fit. I think, did you see he needs 2 different surgeries? He needs one on his shoulder and one on his ankle, I think.
He doesn't deserve to feel that pain, though, will he? Because City are top of the league. And I cannot stress how sorry I am about that fact. Yeah, I don't know. I just think like Maguire, Rashford, Shaw, Mason Greenwood now as well. They're all going to have to go. They're all being picked in the 33-man provisional squad, which is
they might not make it now.
such a cowardice move, Southgate. I mean, look, come on, pick a team.
You're going to upset someone eventually, man. You can't bring everyone.
You have to do it. You're putting off the inevitable.
And like
here.
we said this last time, I'm surprised no one really mentioned it. That has to be on like Greenwood's mind going into that game last night. Like, I don't know if I'm in the Euro squad, but now I've basically been texted to be like, yeah, you might, depends on how the next week goes. Like, that's so much pressure. Like
for an 18-year-old, because I mean, most people would say he's just trying to keep people happy or whatever. Yeah. But like when you're actually personally involved in it, you're thinking, oh, he's waiting to see how I play in this game. And we this is exactly said last. I was like, no, he'll wait till after these games. He wouldn't do it before the games. That would throw them off. And that's exactly what he did. So yeah, again, we don't know anything, but I'd imagine this United team, they would be changed up in the summer. I think if someone will go out and
I actually think this happens sometimes with United over the last few years. I think losing that final is probably the best thing that could have happened to that squad. Because if they won that, then everything's gravy. You don't need to change anything. Now it's like, oh fuck! Well, now we have to sign players, or else everyone's gonna be mad.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk much about Hernandez. He was kind of squeezed out. He's obviously the danger man there. But I think, like we're saying, if you don't trust Mata or Van de Beek for some reason either, you need probably something else, another midfielder to change up if you have to, because that'll happen again. There's another season, another Champions League to go next season. It can happen that they can target players and take them out of the game. So if you want anything else to offer, so I think they probably need more in the midfield.
I still think, and I know it's like typical United thing, but I really do think Sancho is so crucial, man. Having just a starting right winger that's not Mason Greenwood, who's 18 years old.
Yeah.
And like, if you can swap, like, if you can take off Rashford and bring on Greenwood because Sancho's already playing, that's so much better than like Ollie looking at Dan James and Mata and going, maybe I'll just see how they get on.
Yeah, you'd imagine players like that, Dan James, and I mean Mata is whatever. I suppose he's
probably. I think it's up to him.
He's probably happy enough to be there. But like if you're Tellez, if you're Dan James, if you're definitely Donny Van de Beek, you're thinking that's when you bring on the sub like me. So if I'm not good enough for that, then what am I doing here? Like, what am I really going to achieve if I'm not good enough to bring on, instead of the injured players or players who aren't playing well? So I wouldn't say maybe the starting team will still be there. They definitely need recruits. I was saying about City and Chelsea, like that's the model where you need a big squad. And if you look at your bench and you see players that you don't trust to bring on in a final, that can't be the same thing. I suppose we should get into the other news because it kind of links in with Ollie's future.
Well, I've a question for you first.
Okay, go on.
Do you think Ollie will ever win anything at United?
No, I don't think he'll probably last the summer. If I'm honest, I think this is there's enough people who don't rate him at any point. It's another trophy he hasn't won. It was a really bad performance. Whatever you can say, blame Woodward and blame them not getting the right players in, and that isn't the strongest squad, but like it's those in-game decisions. That's what you pay the manager, whatever, $7 million a year to do. And when you mess up that catastrophically against Villarreal, who we haven't talked about, because I guess we don't know much about them.
They were in seventh, weren't they?
They're the Tottenham of La Liga. They're in Europa Conference League. If they didn't win this, that's the first trophy they've won. I think they won the Intertoto Cup, which you can count or you can't. But like when they got promoted through the divisions, it wasn't by winning; it was through the playoff. This is like the first bit of silverware they've ever won.
Yeah. It's a city of 50,000 people. That's like Carlo.
It's like north of Valencia. It's like it's you drive through it, supposedly. I've never been, but like, apparently it's one of those blink if you miss it type places. Tiny place, you're the much better team. You just have to change one or two things. I think he has to go. And with Zidane and Conte and possibly Pochettino also on the market, I can't see him staying here, Will.
I think he's staying. Because again, like, if he gets knocked out of Europa, it's not as big a story. Because he did well in the league, got to the finals, all that stuff. But I think I do think he'll win like a League Cup, maybe a Europa League or something. But I think that's about it. And I think he's kind of unfortunate in that because he, like, remember when he was first brought in, and it's like, oh, that'll be good for 1 or 2 games, and then you get an actual manager. But he's constantly like, he beats his own expectations a lot, which then makes people be like, how are you not winning everything, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who only managed Mold and Cardiff before this? Like,
yeah, that's true. He did go kind of like he have a bad bit, and then he go up a bit, and then a bad bit again. But if you end on a low bit, if you end on a losing, then there's no opportunity to win it back. And the news is that it broke during the game. Zidane has left Real Madrid with immediate effect. A strange strategy has, only managing Real Madrid and then leaving on his own, and then coming back and winning again, and then leaving again. 2-year stints on, 2-year stints off, or a year off, I suppose. Do you think he would go to United?
I don't think. See, this is the thing. I don't think the Glazers or Woodward, whoever, have any interest in signing someone who is not just gonna fucking be their lapdog. Like, they're not gonna get someone they don't know, because what if he says something about them? Like, that's what happened with Jose. He was, as soon as he mentioned he wasn't allowed to buy players, he was gone. Ollie's not going to do that. Ollie's always going to just be delighted he's there. Like,
yeah, well, that's maybe part of the problem. That he's, he's just happy to be there. But I don't think, the Glazers can say that they've been financially successful and all the rest of it, but I don't think they want to get to that 10 years that win the title, which is in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
So, if Ollie wins the League Cup with them next year, it's like, great, now you got 1 more year to win the league. That's going to be 10 years before they've won the league.
But that's what happens when you don't keep up with City and Chelsea spending, or Liverpool. You don't have 1 or 2 excellent summers of signings. You're never going to win anything. Like, you're not going to fluke your way in.
The signings has been an issue for sure. If you're Zidane, you're looking at that saying, what kind of say do I have in this?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the strategy here? What's the 5-year plan? What players do you think that you need? And I'll tell you what players I think you need. Those will be all the questions you'd ask. And like I say, he's kind of Real Madrid is the only place he's managed. It's a good system he has. Do Real Madrid for a bit. It gets a bit hectic. I'm out, and then goes back again.
I have no idea how good Zidane is. Do you?
Well, I mean, the fact that he won the 3 Champions Leagues, you kind of think, like, Ancelotti's bit like that as well. People said, his biggest strength is kind of managing egos at top clubs, because it is a skill in itself in terms of keeping Ronaldo and Benzema and Bale and Ramos, every feeling that they're the star of the show, even though when Ronaldo is that's a skill. United, it feels probably more like
well, they got rid of a lot of the egos. Like, that was something Ollie did. Like, he got rid of Lukaku, he got rid of Sanchez.
It feels like a different project. You know?
That is one thing I think Ollie's done well. He doesn't really get credit for. Like, did you see only 3 players that played in the last Europa League final played in this one? So, he's changed the whole team. And I think most, the starting 11 players he signed have all been good. Like, Wan-Bissaka's good, Maguire's good, Cavani's good. It's very rare he gets a signing wrong.
Well, that was Woodward. That was Woodward, of course, don't forget.
This is the thing.
So, in actual fact, he's 3 for 50. So, I mean, this is the thing. If you're Zidane, you're thinking, I can manage players. If the team isn't already pretty good when I get there, who are the players you're going to bring in?
Yeah.
I think Conte, he's left Inter, in probably a bigger story. I saw this earlier on the season. A lot of the Italian Italian teams were struggling financially. In that, again, I only found this out embarrassingly recently, that when they buy players, it's usually over payment plans, not just a big bag of cash or a big briefcase full of 200 million euros for Neymar. And it's not incentives and installments, stuff like that. So I mean, if you've been watching Lukaku for Inter, scoring a rake of goals since he's
it's a lot of money,
and winning the league, I'm sure there's probably a few incentives he's hit. And long story short, they've missed some of those, I guess, timelines or whatever to pay, and a few others I think as well. Alexis Sanchez, another one they signed. I think they're behind on payments. I don't know if you can repossess players. There's probably some kind of European labour law against that, I'm sure. But essentially, the long story short is that Inter have to make the money up like right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is because of financial penalties that have to pay to United or whatever. But they've told Antonio Conte that you will have to take a pay cut yourself and will have to sell 80 million worth of players.
So you have to tear apart the league-winning team you just built.
Yeah, so good luck in the Champions League next year with not the team that got you there.
You have to sell all of the players that we bought you last summer.
Yeah, and you'll be paid less to do a harder job, essentially. So he left. He said, fuck that noise. He's out. He's managed in the Premier League before with Chelsea, of course. Left in a similarly kind of...
He doesn't like not getting his way. So.
Yeah, who doesn't? Who doesn't? It's about how you handle it. And the way he handles it is he leaves. So anybody who's watching Man United from the outside will say that seems like a pretty similar situation in terms of not getting what I want.
And as well, now Inter are stuck the way United were for a few years of now Conte's gone. And there you have like Darmian, Young, fucking like all these players that were brought in specifically for him and his system that now the next manager might not play 5 at the back. So now you're just stuck paying wages to lads that nobody wants.
So yeah, who knows what's going to happen to Inter? But for Conte himself, I mean, it'd be pretty nice to just take a year off, maybe, either. Sometimes they don't go right back into it. So maybe Ollie will be safe. But I think as the game was happening, this news was breaking that all these other top managers were becoming available. I thought, Oz United are like hammering against a brick wall here at Villarreal, like not knowing what to do. How could we possibly score? It seemed like it was fate to me that this might be Ollie's last dance.
See, I think he has another like year or two in his contract. So
yeah,
now if United are smart, I could see them letting him use up his whole contract and then replacing him properly. Like, thanks for your help. Now we'll move on to the next thing. But United don't really operate like that. Like, they'll either sack him or they'll give him a new contract. Because they're like, well, we can't lose him. What if we can't get anyone?
Yeah. Who's Ollie's assistant?
Fucking Michael Carrick.
Oh, no.
Mike Phelan.
Mike Phelan, yeah. Do you either get it done now in the week between now and the Euros, or do you wait till after the Euros? Maybe there might be some international managers who might fancy the job as well. They might wait for the Euros to happen, and if some team has a great tournament, maybe they get the United job. That's happened to Van Gaal, isn't
it? Equally as well, though, you could see, say, France don't do well in the World Cup. All of a sudden, Zidane might be thinking, I can fucking manage there, so maybe I'll wait till after the Euros. That's
a good shout too. There could be a few jobs that come up. Like I say, Conte's been around. He's done a lot of different jobs. An international job might be up his street.
Yeah, and like international, I think so. Yeah. International management usually is like after every tournament, loads of people leave because it's kind of like, okay, we had you for 4 years. On to the next.
Yeah, that's usually how the contracts run and stuff, and they kind of happy enough to leave it there.
Because you're not going to be like, another 2 years until the next one. Fucking hell.
But yeah, well, look, I enjoyed the Europa League final.
It was good telly. The penalty shootout was great television. Like, it's the best penalty. It was the best penalty shootout I've ever watched.
So tense. But of course, that was just the curtain raiser for the Champions League final this Saturday. Chelsea City. We're going to get saucy, aren't we, Will?
Our first time seeing each other in
a long time.
Real life. Look forward to not being able to turn off the pod when we see each other in real life.
Yeah. So I'm going to tweet the first half. Will's going to tweet the second half. I guess extra time be the same thing. And then we'll take the first penalty and I'll tweet the last penalty.
I will say, actually, speaking of Twitter, I was not too much of a fan of going on Twitter and seeing my own podcast Twitter making fun of United losing.
I was objective, I think. Look,
you put up a picture of the Villarreal, whoever it was that scored, and being like, "Oh, that Europa League feeling."
Hey, I'm happy for Moreno. He's a late bloomer, just like myself. 29 years of age. That was his 30th goal this year. He's probably going to start for Spain. He had a good
Take
game.
Him off. Get Coquelin on.
I'm happy for him. It's not a United thing. We'll be watching the Champions League. I think I am going to back City in that game. Chelsea have had a bad run. Before after semi-finals, I might have backed Chelsea. I thought, these boys are going to do it, but that feels like a long time ago now.
And I think United showed last night you can't just switch it on all of a sudden. If you've had a string of bad games, it's going to be a bit of a bad game in the next one too.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll be back on probably Monday for that, because it's on Saturday, isn't it? So we'll probably be back Monday for that. And yeah, I can't wait for that, man. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's going to be good crack.
And then after that, it's a short week or so to the Euros on the 11th. They're on the 29th, so you got like 10 days. We're going to give a full pre-Euros episode breakdown, and of course we'll have the Fantasy League. It's up and running now. It's on the official Euro 2020 app. There's an app as well you can download. It's very handy.
Yeah.
There's I think there's 6 people who joined already. The code's in the link in the bio. I think you put in the link tree as well. You can go to from there. So,
and where can they find that bio?
In the bio on Instagram. Sorry, No Nonsense Pod on No Nonsense Podcast on Instagram. And as if fantasy football wasn't fun enough, we have a very special prize as well. We're going to give away a jersey of your choice from the tournament. So any teams who's participating in the Euro 2020, their jersey, pick the jersey, that'll be out to you in the post. If you win, good luck beating us. We're fucking seasoned veterans here on the fantasy circuit, so you'll definitely earn it.
Yeah. I have never done a knockout tournament fantasy, so I don't even know how it works.
Oh, it's fun, man. It's fun. Was there any other news? Anything else to touch on? No.
Well, Pochettino might be going back to Spurs.
Yeah, there's a few rumors. This is the kind of rumor mill season as well. I mean, we might have to get a little segment in there of ridiculous rumors. I saw Willian going back to Chelsea. I seen Hazard going back to Chelsea as well.
Lukaku going back to also Chelsea.
Yeah, it feels like we're in some kind of time paradox where it's going to turn back the clock to like 2015 or something. It's very exciting times for Chelsea fans. Yeah, but that's probably about it, I'd say, for this week's episode. Probably meant to be a short one, but we had a lot to fit in there. So
well, but I think I'd said that in the last episode. If United were losing, it probably wasn't going to be that short an episode.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see you again Monday, and onward and upward from here, Will.
Yeah, hopefully upward from losing in the 11th penalty.
What a tournament! Oh.
No, honestly, that is nonsense. Nonsense. All nonsense. But listen, I've been on that road before. Nonsense. Talking nonsense. Why should we accept somebody talking nonsense? Like, what would you say? Just why are you talking nonsense about us? Why are you talking rubbish?